Hi everybody, this is Christy. I am the Intimate Warrior. I thank you so much for stopping by, and as always, I send you love. In today's video, I want to help you understand what it's really about, taking in these energies. And I'm going to try to use examples or just everyday life. So let's pretend that neither you or myself knows that we are actually going through the process of waking up. Each and every one of us are receiving God's love. Every single day we are receiving God's love, God's light. We are receiving parts of Christ within us every single day. Light is there, it always exists, and it's in the examples of the sun and the moon. Even though the moon isn't as bright as the sun, it still has its brightness, but it's only noticeable when the skies are dark. So light is always present. But it's like for me, for a couple of days, I felt highly connected. And sometimes you might feel awesome. You feel healthy, you feel strong, you feel mentally clear and connected with just life. There's just this awesome flow. And then all of a sudden you're going to hit a wall. Or something happens in your life and you collapse. That sensation is now gone. That awesome sensation is light that's been given to us, that's been understood. Now, when we're trying to handle everyday life because we have forgotten God, and we're thinking more of ourselves, more of our suffering. We're focusing more on that, and we forget God. We forget that beautiful light that has entered into us. That's how everybody is on a daily basis. Information, light, knowledge, connection is given to each and every single one of us on a daily basis, but we forget. Even for myself, who knows I'm going through this, or who is attempting to go down the one path. Not, I'm going to go up the spiral path. It's the straight and narrow path. There's a difference between the spiral path. The spiral path can actually take you through many, many, many lifetimes to complete. So you can go a little bit, live this lifetime here, if you will, and stop doing what you're doing, of course, and come back into a next lifetime and try to finish where you left off. So having multiple lifetime experiences. Now, I'm not saying that if you take the straight and narrow path that you may not have another experience. I'm saying you don't have to automatically come back to have that experience. If you choose to, of course, I don't know about that because I don't have that type of awareness yet. But my perception is that if you have lived the life of love through the one path, if you are actually asked to come back, because you are so full of love, why wouldn't you, in my perception? Because you're so willing to be there for other people, why wouldn't you? But with that one, you remove all of your karmic debt and there's no need to ever come back. No need. And as I'm saying that, let me explain forgiveness here. And it's because Jonah, and I hope you don't mind me mentioning your name, Jonah, you posted a comment on one of my videos here that I have not actually replied back to, and I'm trying to get back to you without clicking on the sound of the video. So it was in my The Secrets to Lent, Penance, and the 40 Days in the Wilderness. And I know the last two videos still mention both of those things. So I try to keep things going in order, of course, through my discussion and what is actually taking place, of course, for where I am and where I am currently at, or what I'm working through myself. And what my awareness and my guidance system is giving to me, what God is giving to me through my own inner being. so that you can learn, of course, from what I'm going through and hopefully what you are going through and what you're experiencing. So, of course, Jonah mentioned, put down there Matthew 7:2, do not judge, or you too shall be judged. What is that? Of course, that's our karma. Whatever it is that we are doing, it's reaping and sowing. And why forgiveness is so important to our path. Because forgiveness removes our karmic debt. Forgiveness. That's why we choose to forgive other people. That's the deepest part of why we are actually forgiving other people. Forgiveness teaches us what real love is about and why it's so important to offer it. But in the long run, we are the ones receiving the benefit of the removal of the pain. So, I'm going to go back and talk about yesterday, or how, and of course, my videos are in order of how my days have gone. And yet in yesterday's video I posted, I spoke about my attitude and how my husband, walked through the door and woke me up one night. And so I was still agitated. The following day, other things took place that just made me feel again like a victim. Here I am. I got this stuff, like the crap rolls downhill. And here I am. I'm always the one who has to deal with this crap. And I was getting frustrated. Even though I felt so amazing, had so many beautiful revelations throughout the past, week or two here. And the supreme connection that I had for almost 2 days. Yet, I forgot so quickly. Remember, what I am trying to do, even more so, is staying focused on God. Remembering God than myself. Remembering God more and less of myself. And I couldn't do that yesterday. But throughout the day, after I exercised, and I know I mentioned this in all of my previous video, a shift began to change. The more that I remembered God and how terrible my own actions were, I began to feel more of that peaceful presence again. Forgiveness. And I was thinking in my head, oh my gosh, I feel so bad for the way I lashed out at my husband. He didn't mean to wake me up. He didn't know I was going to sleep. And I'm like, look at how you behaved. And then reminding myself again, it's not my father-in-law's fault for how life is happening for him. He is aging. It's a natural process that we are all going through. And why haven't you should have learned from how you took care of Barb. And now Pop is going to go through, an experience as well that is going to require your love and sacrifice for another human being. Being there selflessly for somebody else is never going to be convenient. And if you can do that with a proud attitude, a gratefulness attitude, not pride, be prideful, but being proud that you have an opportunity to do something for another person who doesn't know that they need to do it themselves. A lot, even like in marriages, you have a person who's always doing and another person who seems to not do enough. It doesn't make the person terrible who isn't doing enough, and the other person who is doing a lot better. Okay? Because the other person who isn't doing enough just doesn't understand the need to do. We're all taught something, and we all need love differently. So I can only use my marriage here. My husband needs me to love him in a certain way, to help him find the things that he doesn't care about, and for me, I'm like, well, why don't you know where your things are? If they're your things, why don't you know where, why can't you make yourself something to eat? Whatever. I can come up with all kinds of reasons to either hate my husband or love my husband. And that's the difference in what forgiveness and true understanding can do for us. I still have my moments of understanding. I have a choice. What do I want to focus on when it comes to relationships of others, and even myself? I'm going to focus on all of the terrible things that they do and that now I have to compensate for. Or I can change it and say, this is my opportunity to show this person that I love them. And that's what it's all about. Forgiveness clears our path. Forgiveness. So, of course, you know, like my mom here, even though I have, you know, reached back out and we have spoke on the phone from time to time, there's a distance between my mother and I. There still is this separation. I haven't seen her physically since before, in October, I guess it was. But we've spoken on the phone. She hasn't called me. I think maybe once, but, and that was it. But I called her Monday. She didn't pick up. And of course, my mom's her excuse is going to be she didn't hear the phone ring. But, you know, you can check your phone and you can see who calls you. And sometimes I know the phones mess up and you don't even receive notifications. But, you know, that's an excuse. And in my book, it's an excuse, and I know I've done it too. And somebody else calls, you know, I just don't feel like talking, and I don't call them back. You know, it's because it's not part of what we care about, honestly. We don't care about those relationships. They don't mean anything to us. They're part of our experience, but it's not necessary. So what I'm trying to say is that my mother and I love her. I have forgiven her. I don't know if she's forgiven me, but there is that separation. And if I continuously try to reach out, it's okay. That's my choice. And yes, I'm going to eventually call her. But, you know, what's going to happen that if she stops picking up the call or never picks up a call? I'm eventually going to get to the point of, you know what? I'm busy today. There's no point in me reaching out anyway, because she's not going to call. Life happens. And the things that just kind of slowly taper away do just that. They slowly taper away. So if somebody else doesn't feel like they're, someone else is bringing up, you know, what's the word? I guess we get to the point of not feeling as if somebody else is holding up their end of the bargain, doing enough on our end, you know. And I can say that in my marriage, you know, well, you're not holding up. You're not doing your part. It should be 50-50. And it's not about being 50-50. It's about 100%. We, each and every one of us, must give 100% at all times, regardless of what is being given to us. So I don't know what my relationship with my mom is going, what's going to happen here. But in my mind here, I'm like, you know, this is what my mom has always wanted. It's always been everything that she's always said. Well, if someone hurts me, I'm going to walk away, which means that she's not willing to forgive. But, you know, I don't know. She could be forgiving, but still staying separated. I don't know, because I'm not in her head and I'm not in her heart, and it's not good for me to judge that side of her. So all we can do is allow, you know, situations to play itself out. Like my resistance to exercising, or why I wasn't exercising, why I chose to not write my book, why I chose to stop making the videos. You know, and I mentioned in my first video back, abandonment. I abandoned these things because it got too hard. Abandonment is a huge issue that I have tried to heal through my lifetime. So in someone else's eyes, they can say, well, you made a mistake. Like my sister, she wrote a book, or a book of poems. And I told her that I stopped, and she was, of course, she knows that. But why haven't you written your book? I'm like, well, the timing isn't right. Or, I don't know. God doesn't want me to write it right now. It's not the way it's supposed to be. And I don't think we really need to say things that, may hurt somebody else. But, well, aren't we, her perspective is, why aren't we supposed to use our gifts to help other people? Well, yeah, I mean, we're supposed to still be there for other people and use what we have, but also in my perspective is that we should be careful with what we say, because those we love can read what we say, and it can be harmful. And it should never be our intention to hurt people. So if what you're writing hasn't been thought out properly, and you are mentioning people in your book, or whatever it is you're doing in your writings and your videos, it can be very harmful. So what I talk about could be very hurtful to my husband if he were to jump in here and not understand what's going on. Why are you talking about me, Christy? Why are you bringing up our stories? And it could be very harmful to somebody who doesn't know the entire situation. And I'm never here to cause harm to other people. This is all about my own perceptions in my life. So other people might think that me not writing my book is me failing. Yeah, and I thought about that too. And I put pressure on myself and made myself feel guilty for the situation. But I've learned something. It's been, 5 years, 6 years since I first began writing. And I haven't written anything, haven't added anything, haven't taken anything out. Nothing's changed except my perception of why I stopped. I have learned a major lesson in there, which means that it was okay for me to stop, right? So if you were to change my situation of a book about you breaking up in your marriage, splitting in a marriage, or, leaving, not talking to your mom or dad, whatever it is, the same situation, you thought you should walk away. Here in my life, I'm not walking away. But just because I'm not walking away doesn't mean that you aren't going to walk away. That's why judgment is so bad, and that's why forgiveness can heal. You can spend so much time, no matter, my marriage. I've been married for 21 years. So I decided to stay and learn what it meant to really love someone over myself. And that's okay. That's my choice. And I don't know what the future is going to hold. But I'm teaching myself to love somebody when that person seems to be imperfect in my eyes. What I see in another individual is something that resides still within myself. Impurities. In order to see with truth, we have to walk with spiritual eyes. In your life, your stories are going to kind of be the same, but different situations. And if you are seeing with spiritual eyes, you are learning about things that are difficult or separated or whatever it is. We can't control other people. We can always work on ourselves. And also, Jonah, you mentioned that treating people how you want to be treated has led others to hate you. And of course, most people don't want the same things. But being a good person and taking the direct path, being love, it doesn't mean that we are going to receive the same thing. It means that we are going to constantly be love and do what's right, regardless of how we are treated. We can't stay focused on how we are treated more than doing what's right. Our focus should always be about doing what is right above all. And in time, these seeds will come forth. The good seeds that we have been working on will produce according to that measure and will actually spring forth in greater abundance in time. It takes time, and time is the removal of our debts. That's it. So, we don't do this. We don't be good people because we want to be loved and valued and accepted. And those are things that if we are constantly waiting for people to give to us, we're going to be waiting a long time. That's why this path here is, many will try and only few are going to get through. Because it's so difficult. Because the ego wants you to remember, oh, you're not being loved if you are being good. If you're being holy. If you're being righteous. If you are being loved, true love. The way that God wants us to be. You're not going to be treated the same way. You're not going to be loved because of this. And then people don't do it because it's easier to be bad, if you will, or to fit into society and do what everybody else is doing. And then everybody else starts to love you because you're being, you're fitting into their idea of who you should be instead of doing what's truly right and being a good person. Because being right is the right way to be. And that's why it's not easy. That's why it gets so lonely. It can get so lonely. But it's really worth it. I was watching a movie yesterday. What is it called? The Best of Me, I think. I was sitting here and I didn't watch it at one sitting. I had to go do things. I came back and tried to get a little bit more of it, and then went to cook some dinner and came back and watched the rest of it. So in my spare time, I watched the entire movie throughout the day. And it was so loving, and I was sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, to have a love like that. The idea of really finding somebody out there who just loves you so much that you are the center of the world to them. I was like, man, that must be something. That must really feel awesome to have. Well, we could be that awesomeness for somebody else. Instead of us thinking, I wish I really had that type of love. We can be, you know what? I'm going to be that type of love for somebody else. That's what I am going to try to be for my husband. And my husband isn't all mushy-gushy, so he probably won't see that. But I see it. And God sees it. It's not a waste of my time to be a good person. It's not a waste of my time to give in the way that should be given. In my life experiences comes up. Everything in my reality is going to give me an opportunity to be the better person. So whatever is happening every day in your life that might be annoying to you, if you can conquer that annoyance and put love into it, you get a chance to do this. Or even if you go to work, you have a chance to do this. You get to do this today. An opportunity to be a better person. You might be the one at work that's just constantly taken advantage of. You might feel that way. People are always asking you to do more and the other person gets off. Well, for one, and a lot of people will see that as being taken advantage of. But if you're being asked to do a whole lot more, that whoever is asking you could probably feel that as if you are of great value. That you can get something done. And that you can do it properly. So it's not bad that you are being asked more of. And it's not bad that I'm being asked for so much more in my life. That I feel like I'm doing more than my husband's doing or than somebody else is doing. There's nothing wrong with that. It means that you are needed and that it's necessary. So everybody gets that light that I'm mentioning. And in that light, there is divine knowledge. When we fail to understand the light and divine knowledge, the energies or the ego is not transmuted. We don't transmute the negative energy within us. Therefore, we're only feeding our ego. The ego is constantly living, and that means that we are always living a life of suffering. When you can actually use that knowledge, that greatness, the days that you are feeling on top of the world, and then how can I constantly attach myself to that instead of my own suffering? Means I'm going to see more of God and less of myself. Your suffering is yourself. I'm going to focus more on God than myself. And that is hard to do. It really is. It's constantly changing. Our days can be really heavy. And if we feel miserable because now we're trying to integrate that energy and we don't know how to, of course, movement. It really, really helps. Movement helps. Water helps. Of course, rest helps. But you know your own self. You know your life. And I'm not judging you. But you know your life. I know my last 5 to 6 years here. 6 years now, I believe. I know I have been sitting, the last 2 years here. Especially because I know that time has been given back to me. I've noticed in my mind, I've had an awareness of it. Wow. I don't watch Sky so much. I don't watch her every day now. She's going to school, all kinds of things. Other people are having more time with her too. I don't have to really cut a lot of fields or grass now for my husband. Now here, what am I going to do with this? I'm going to rest. And I can go ahead and rest. It's okay. It's my choice. But my ego was telling me, Christy, for the last, 15 years, you've taken care of all of this all by yourself with Barb, your in-laws, finances, life has got really heavy. And then the last 5 years of Barb's life was even more heavier. You deserve rest. And all throughout, even all that heaviness, Christy, you took on extra load, extra responsibilities to take care of other people, love other people, and you forgot about yourself. It's okay if you rest. And it is okay that I took that rest. Because in that silence, in me feeling bad, even though I was resting and helping myself to heal a little bit more, my body suffered here. I've gained some weight. I am not as limber. I'm not as strong. I'm not as fast as I was 6 years ago. I've suffered the last 6 years. But I also gained some rest. Our mind needs to rest sometimes. Our body needs to rest sometimes. The resting heals us too. But it can also make us feel lazy. And it's hard to get back out of that laziness. So I was in my own suffering for 6 years. Again, and I should have already realized. And I told myself a long time ago when I was exercising, you're never going to go back to being lazy again. You're never going to go back to being negative about exercising. But what did I do? I did. What we speak about, it's going to be tested continuously. And if you speak, oh, I'm never going to do that to my friend again. I'm never going to hurt my friend that way again. Well, your life is going to come and play out. Because now you've spoken about greatness, about love, about an understanding. And now you're going to be tested to see if you really, really understand and can uphold the truth, the law. your words too become the law. That if you say something and you fall back on what you say, you have become a liar, right? Isn't that what they call it? I try never to promise somebody I'm going to be there. But if somebody asks me right today, someone called me up, can you be here for me? And I say, yeah. But then they turn around and say, well, I need you, in 3 days. Oh, I've already put my foot in my mouth, and now I better make sure that I'm there in 3 days. And I know life comes up and you got to kind of reschedule things, but if it's a major commitment, you be there. And even if life does come up, I try to be there and put the other on hold, if at all possible. So, I just wanted to mention that today. And so I am feeling, today I have, so yesterday, as I began to become more aware of my attitude, and really feeling sorrowful for my attitude, the inward smile came back. It returned yesterday. And I noticed it. I was like, oh, it's so great to see you again. It's so great to feel you again. And I woke up still with that smile, inward smile within myself. But my eyes are tired. I did sleep good last night. My eyes are tired. And that begins to kind of remind me about the spiritual eyes here. The eyes go through the adjustment to constantly see the goodness. Until we have developed such greatness within ourselves, we will not see goodness in this world. The new world that you hear about people talking about, the new earth, is never going to appear within your vision, because you have not truly become it yet. Now, as you are constantly walking your path, you are going to notice certain things work out in your favor. Of course, because you have cleared that pathway. Forgiveness of that past sin, if you will. Of course, we're going to see that. We're going to begin to see more loving things, more peaceful things. But then again, life comes back and we're right back. Or, oh gosh, this person's terrible to me. This person's mean to me. It's because it's still within you. The negativity, the impurities, the sin, the terrible seed that never produced good fruit is still within you. That has to be purged and purified. This is Christy. Much love, health, and healing your way. I am bringing purpose to your life. Take care.